Shout out to the Hype Magazine.
And we right here with the Hype Magazine. You already know what it is.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Jerry Doby, and today, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to have my friend, my big brother, the Padrino himself, Mellow Man Ace on Hype Live Sessions. Thank you. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings, my bro. It's been a while. It's good to see you. I see we're both turning a little spongy over here, a little gray. Just we made it. We made it. Rest in peace to all those brothers who didn't, and we know so many. You know what I mean?
Right.
Died young, but here we are, man, and going into our golden age. You know what I mean? I'm 4 years away from 60, and I feel great. I feel great,
man. Out there doing some gardening. Staying active and physical, living life.
Yeah.
Yo, I got to do this disclaimer real quick because he's not only my friend, he's been a big brother, and he's treated me like a little brother since I met him, from an unknown award show, an honor which he accepted, to me calling him and said, bro, can you come down to this film set and be the OG, just be the OG that you want to be, to me going back to Afghanistan, coming back really jacked up, having a real hard time. And he accepted my call, listened to me cry, and then called to check on me. This is like real friendship. This is some OG friend stuff that people are not getting. And it's not about black or brown. It was just two people. This man has supported me from the early get-go of my journalistic career. When I came back after taking a break, as a human being, I reached out and he was there. And that is the meaning of an OG. You know what I mean? So I wanted to say thank you, give you your flowers while we're both here. You feel me? I'm turning 60. I turned 60, you're in the 50s, and it's a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Yeah.
My heart, I love you, brother.
No, hey, realistically, you're actually the big brother, you know what I mean? So, sometimes I hear stories of what I've done for people, and I really can't believe it. I'm like, really? I'm not nice with it? You know what I mean? Like I did that, And you just don't look at yourself, or you don't boast about those things, you know what I mean? You don't put them on Front Street, and you just do them out of the kindness of your heart, and then they come back 10, 15, 20 years later, and you listen to the stories and you go like, wow, dude, like I even got some 30, 35-year-old stories, like my man Seymour, the dancer, B-boy. Brothers that I've just admired what they're about and seen them young and was able to discover them and put them on. And when I hear the stories, man, they never get old, number one. And number two, it helps me to understand myself a little better because I never thought I was really giving back like that. So when I realized that I felt better about myself, if that makes sense a little bit, and so thank you for sharing your story, man. And it makes me feel good. It uplifts me to hear you be uplifted by me. So it just goes back and forth. You know what I mean?
It's more than that, my brother. You saved my life. You don't know. I was about to be a statistic. This brother. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that, because
we are.
That was pulling my heartstrings for real. Like I just have so much love for you, man to man, brother.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Back at you.
So 1989 was the year.
Yeah.
Made his debut with a song called Mentirosa. That
actually, I gotta correct you, Jerry.
Oh, holla at me.
The debut was in 87.
87.
On Delicious Vinyl. I got a single deal from Matt Dyke, rest in peace, and Michael Ross.
Okay.
And that's where it all started, because at the time, Pops had kicked me out of the house because I didn't want to hold the job. I believe in myself so much that I was going to make it, almost to an arrogant degree. But I think it's more confidence than anything, even as a young bull. And so he had kicked me out of the house, so I had to bust a move. I had to really, start hanging out late and going to Hollywood, meeting this one and that one. And I give thanks to those guys, Matt Dyke, rest in peace, Michael Ross, because nobody is great by themselves. You know what I mean? Everybody needs somebody. And, even those early club promoters like Satan and the Bitch down at the Egg Salad and all that kind of stuff, man. Club King and all that used to slide through the side door. You might see Denzel Washington in there back in '86. Guys like Christian Hosoi and brothers from the Red Hot Chili Peppers chilling out, wilding out, in the back. And that's really where it all started for me. And then in '89 was when I was able to, parlay that single deal on Delicious Vinyl into the major deal at Capitol Records. And that's when things started to really bubble. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was benchmark time. And then, so actually the '89 release was on Capitol.
Yeah.
January 1st, it ushered in the new year.
What happened was Mike Ross at Delicious Vinyl, I believe they needed some finances to be able to press up more Tone Loc and Young MC records that was really bubbling. Chiba Chiba and all that was coming out. And when I got approached by Capitol Records at a show that Delicious Vinyl put together in conjunction with DJ Melody at San Diego State University.
Right.
It was myself with Cypress Hill behind me, Tone Loc, Young MC, and we were going to open up for Tila Rock. It's yours. A guy by the name of Kenny Ortiz was sent there from Capitol Records. And I mean, we swore we was on tour, Jerry.
Yeah.
We touring now. Look at us. We get the road show, I think for Young and Loc and myself, it was like one of the first times we traveled outside of LA to do a show.
Okay.
Now we're talking about 88, 89 in there, 88. And then I got when we get there, we thought like, yo, we're on tour, we doing, and look at us all in the hotel room, you know what I'm saying? Right? We get to the venue, it's 10 motherfuckers inside San Diego State University, such and such hall. But that 11th person happened to be a guy by the name of Kenny Ortiz, Afro-Cuban brother, like myself, introduces himself. Because we went on stage, me and Cypress, we went on stage and we gave it 110%. Like it was, 1,000 people in there.
Yeah.
That's how we used to do. And he says, yo, my name is Kenny Ortiz. Here's my business card. I work for Capitol Records and we want to sign you. And I'm like, well, that's a toughie because I'm already signed over at Delicious Vinyl. And the man says to me, he says, don't worry about that. We're going to buy out your contract. Now, he said, call me on Monday. I call him on Monday. And he says, yo, we want to buy out your contract. We want to set up a meeting. We do the meeting. And I let, Delicious Vinyl know. And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll cut you loose because we need the money anyway to press up more Loc and Young records.
Right.
So I said, yo, this is lovely. I end up swinging a 7-album deal over at Capitol. With my first album deal was 90,000 with increments of 200,000 or so more if I sell enough records on my first go round, which I did.
Right.
Mentirosa comes out. We kind of reinvented the bread on that one. And we put Latinos on the map with that. It would kick off an entire movement. And next thing you know, my second album budget is 250,000. So I sold so many records. And then on the second album, it jumped up because I sold so many more. It jumped up to 500,000 on the third joint. So that's how we did it.
So Mentirosa was the joint that crashed the glass ceiling for Latino hip hop and ultimately changed the fabric of the entire hip hop culture, because more Latinos were able to come and shine and come to the forefront as opposed to being treated like second class rappers.
Yeah, well, I mean, the term Latino hip hop didn't even exist at that time.
Right.
You know, it was just something that we were doing, you know, to just because we loved the culture. And it wasn't really coined like that until I did press day up at Capitol Records after we had come back off the first tour. And we had a press day. This is where, you know, all the tabloids come in throughout the day. It's like an 8-hour day for you, right?
Mm.
You got, you got Double XL, you got The Source, you got this one, that one, all coming in, BET Award, whatever the magazine was, Right On magazine, Fresh Beat, and all that shit was
Wow.
out, you know. All of them lined up, one back to back.
Wow.
Well, this particular in the morning time, I think it was my second session. I think Double XL was first, and The Source Source was first. And then I did Double XL. What I believe it was with Soren Baker.
Soren, yeah, my man.
Soren Baker, great journalist,
Great journalist, great author.
great guy, great all around guy. He starts his interview by saying, "So Mello, what does it feel like to be the godfather of Latin hip hop?" I'm like, yo, that's a sexy title right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So right away, the light came on. I said, I'm gonna run with that. And so soon after that, I mean, labels started to really check for Latino-based hip hop, you know, and I believe, you know, pretty much like Jackie Robinson or Roberto Clemente. That's kind of how it made me feel. Like, you know, now Latinos were getting checked for, because before then, up until, I mean, it was really just the Mean Machine, Bronx-based Puerto Rican crew. That was the only group that had ever gotten a deal. And then at that, they got kicked off the label Sugar Hill Records by Sylvia Robinson. So I pick up the torch there, and then I start going to the finish line with it. And that was a pivotal point for hip hop.
That was a big deal to learn about Mean Machine. I was doing my research, and I'm like, Mean Machine, I never heard of them. That's, you know, for you to just pop up and take it and elevate with your debut, like the one that the world heard. That's so dynamic. What was it about them that inspired you? Was there a benchmark moment?
Yeah, there is actually. It was an all English record, but toward the end of the record, they let one of their MCs by the name of Mr. Schick bust a small Spanish verse in there.
Okay.
And and this was 1981, all right? When I heard it, I was just honing my skills in the street, you know, battling and such. And I said, that's how I want to be like that guy. I want to rap in Spanish. I'm fluent in Spanish, being Afro-Cuban. And so he didn't know it then, but he became my mentor that day. Oh, wow. And even though at that point I had never met this guy, never knew him, I said, I want to be like that guy. And, you know, there was Kumo D, you had your LA Sunshines, you had your of course, your Grandmaster Flashes, your Spoonie G's, you know, at that time. You had, of course, you know, Ram LZ and them dudes. You had that first school of MCs, you know, that you're now discovering. And when I heard that, it was really impactful. And I said, I want to be like that guy. Years later, it would take me 30 years before I would meet that man and be able to thank him. And today, he is my friend. Whenever he's in Cali, he calls me, we meet up. And it's amazing. It's been an amazing journey with just to know him and how that came about.
Is that one of the more satisfying things about your journey, is the level and depth of relationships that you've built in the industry? Found some actual
Yeah,
real friends
yeah,
despite the
yeah.
stereotype.
Yeah, sometimes I sit back and I'm like, man, you know what? When people call me like a triple OG, whatever, I'm like, I'm really a triple OG, you know what I mean? Like dogs, like you were there. Like if not first school West Coast, you was second school West Coast. You
Right.
know, before me was basically the world class wrecking crew, Toddy T, LA Dream Team, Ice T, and maybe one more, maybe of course, who could forget the world class wrecking crew,
Right.
right? And then there was the cats, loving seeing them who did Radioactivity Jam. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was first school West Coast, and then here we come in. You know, a little bit later on in '87 when I put out that joint on Delicious Vinyl called Mas Pingon, and that I mean, you had Egypt as well. Egypt, can't forget Egypt,
Yeah.
first school MC, and then we came along, you know, and so when people address me like that, man, sometimes I bug out because it's like, man, I really was there, you know, I really was there, and I was mingling with this one and that one, and running around at Water the Bush and the King and all that, you know, and really putting in work and starting to build this brand known as Mellow Man Ace at that time, man. It's like, what a great time it was to hip hop, to be in hip hop at that time, you know?
Right. I know during that period it was transitory because what you were just coming out of the element when like Club Nouveau, J King and those guys from and Spice One were helping to transition the West Coast sound, right? And this is long before, you know, the easy banger, you know, days, right? So, or maybe not. I'm
I,
old.
I think NWA, well, remember, I made my first track in '87.
Right.
I'm not sure what year Dope Man came out, which I think was their first cut.
The
Um,
Ooh, I don't know.
yeah,
I know
that's when they had that one Mexican cat in the group who was also down with us on Cypress,
okay.
Crazy D.
Okay.
And when you turn the record over and you look on the back, he's the only Mexican there next to Candyman,
Okay.
and they nailing down.
Okay.
Because Candyman was down with NWA at that time as well. So something that a lot of people forget.
The
And
history. Wow.
yeah, I think that might have came out in '86. So I think, you know, we're in that same second school. You know
That
what I mean?
section.
NWA to me is second school. And I think for me, the first time I heard gangster rap on the West Coast, for me, okay, anybody can agree to disagree or whatever, but for me, had to be that brother Toddy T with
Mm,
the batter ram. The batter ram,
yeah.
boom, boom, boom,
That
boom, boom.
yeah, that was
The
that,
batter ram, boom, boom.
that,
Now he went there
he yeah,
during the blood and crip and crack era.
yeah.
He really took it there, more so than anybody to me. And in terms of street reality rap, gangster rap, if you will, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enough respect to Toddy T.
If you weren't from LA at that time, or maybe even Philadelphia, whatever, and never had a tank run up on your door or watched it, the batter ram, it's just a big ass pole. They were just knocking your stuff down, you know. That was a reality rap. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Excuse me, I'm not smoking.
All good, all good.
Uh so as you're navigating this maze called the music industry, and you got your first taste of, you know, business, you know, with the Capital buying out the Delicious Vinyl contract, and you understanding that, yo, I'm like a tradable asset in the business. You trade me off, you get money, you could invest that money in another. when you woke up and you're like, yo, this is some slick business going on, what was the biggest surprise for you about that part?
I think for me, the biggest surprise was at that time was the size of of my first album deal
Mm.
on Capitol, and with those sexy increments that
Yeah.
that were attached to it. Those were what's the word they used to use?
Performance based, like in the
No,
NFL,
no, no. They had a different term for that at that time. It is basically performance based, but the
like
word
bonuses.
for it was it'll come to me later, probably when we're done.
That's all right.
But they were increments,
Right, right.
based that were performance based on record sales and whatnot. But that to me was gorgeous. And the thing I think that young cats fail to see today, I love what they're doing. I'm not one of them OGs that don't fuck with the young cats. There's a lot of young cats that haven't gotten on yet, but they forget that this is a business. So what I did with that in mind, I took 10,000 home and I planted a seed of 80,000 on music producers, sample clearances, and all that to do that first album. In other words, I planted a seed. I got my money. I could have went home 90,000. I could have took that all to the crib, but instead I laced up DJ Muggs, Tony G, Johnny Rivers, the Dust Brothers, Def Jeff. All these brothers came together to help me formulate that very experimental first album. And so we planted a seed. Today, these cats want to just go. They don't invest nothing. They think you owe them everything, and they forget that they have to invest in themselves, or else if you don't plant a seed, what harvest do you expect back?
Right.
You can't. You can't get a harvest without seeds. And I think it's very important for the younger cats to know that, like, in order to get in the game, you got to put your money up. I put 80K. I could have took home 15, 20, 35, 40. Who knows? Whatever. And then just, did whatever with the rest. And spread it out like that. But what if I wouldn't have had enough to get Tony G, who ends up producing Mentirosa, right?
The
So
Wizard, right? Tony the Wizard.
where's the Tony? No, that's
He's
another
another Tony, but
that's the Tony. That's another Tony.
uh,
But Tony G, the great mentor, man, that he was and still is to this day. I mean, that's kind of how we did that.
mm, okay. So collaboration and another sign of realness. I have to invest in myself. And who better to invest with than my people who've been with me from day one that are delivering the quality product I need. Is good business move.
Yeah.
Keep it in the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
if you're the best on the wheels, why wouldn't I, hire you out? Like,
And he's also a fellow Cuban,
right, right.
And I mean, when you think of guys like Def Jeff and DJ Muggs, Johnny Rivers was probably one of the most obscure producers on that record. Then, of course, you have the Dust Brothers who go on to produce Tone Loc, Young MC, so many others, and the brand new heavies and people like that. Even some of the Beastie Boy stuff with when you consider Mario Caldato Jr., who was our engineer over at Delicious Vinyl at that time. The Beastie Boys meet him, recruit him, take him out and into their fold. And now they came with that second album, after they left Def Jam.
Mm,
And then you got Shake Your Rump and all that, you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Hold it now. And, so it was amazing to belong to that circle of people. Within that circle of people, I should say, a very magical time. Probably won't ever happen again.
Mm. Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, there are too many negatives to overcome. It seems like to go back to that level of camaraderie and trust and believe in the culture and I don't know, dedication to the culture, the forward movement of it.
Yeah.
You know, we have the
It's a
voice.
different time. It's a different time.
Yeah.
Cats ain't battling anymore.
Nah.
You might, if you're lucky, you'll see a cipher somewhere obscure, where that used to be the norm. You know, cats would go to house party and battle other groups from rival cities and whatnot, and that's kind of how you sharpened your sword. You know, we don't see that anymore. We
Mm.
don't see that anymore. The
Yeah.
battle in the park shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now cats just buy a computer, a microphone, you know, couple of popper stoppers,
Yeah.
and they're MCs. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. Well, you started at 15 in the house parties and school dances, and then elevated through the system, you know, ASCAP shows, and then, of course, you know,
The
the
K Day,
iconic
the K
1580
Day shows,
K-Day. Yeah, that.
the Lisa Canning's shows, and my man who's now in Japan, Curtis Harmon and them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we battled guys, you know, South Central MCs at that time for those prizes, and I think ultimately it helped bubble the reputation of ourselves. I'll speak for myself since my crew's not here.
Right.
Um, you know, from South Central LA to Southgate, you know, Linwood, Compton, you know, Bell, Huntington Park, all the way out to the Pico Rivera area, Paramount, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Hollywood, of course. And I think once you have that kind of terrain covered, you know, your name is up there and people, you know, like, yo, did you hear that kid rapping in Spanish? You know what I mean?
Right.
Shit like that. We were really shocking and blowing doors open wherever we went.
Mm. Shocking and blowing doors open. If y'all haven't taken a look before, you know, check out that pretty boy fly ass picture that he had with that Hoya's bucket hat on, flipped up in the front. He was like Dapper Dan early, bro. Talk to me about the style and the bucket hat. I've never seen you pretty much without one.
You know what? Realistically, I mean, that was actually Joy Bailey's idea over at Capitol Records.
Mm-hmm.
We did a photo shoot, my very first photo shoot, and I brought out this look where it was the Cuban Guayabera shirt with the Panama hat with the cigars in the pocket,
Right.
and she was the one that suggested that be my look moving forward.
Okay.
And so I took her advice. I mean, she's my head of A&R over there with Gail. What was Gail's last name? I'm forgetting Gail's last name, but her and Joy Bailey were instrumental in me figuring out my look as a young man, you know,
Mm-hmm.
coming into the game, not trying to sound like nobody else, not trying to look like nobody else, because that was a big taboo.
Right. Right.
You feel me? And they helped me to really narrow that down.
Okay.
Like I told you before, nobody is great by themselves. You feel me?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
need somebody. Everybody needs somebody.
Got to have a team, because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and somebody more experienced than you can guide you along the way. So it's no shame, man. What has been the most satisfying? Because you've been interviewed by everybody, their cat, uncle, and dog. So is there a question, bro, that we in the media have yet to ask you that you might have always wanted to address about the industry, creativity, you know, longevity, anything along those lines?
There are a couple of questions that I don't think I've ever been asked. Like I have never been asked, what's it like in the fork of the road
Mm.
when you're asked to sell your soul? I've never been asked that. I've never been asked, what's it like at those mansion parties at the Playboy Mansion? Never been asked that. Have I ever sold my soul? Never been asked that. Um, Shit like that, like the heavy, ugly, dirty shit. that happens in the business, people for some reason think that I would not answer them or answer them truthfully, or people just want to stay away from that and just be like, okay, let's hear about the pretty side of the business. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot to endure on your way up the charts, you know, and I think this is another thing that young cats gotta know, but not enough people are talking about, and that is, you know, the things that you encounter along the way that can, you know, make you lose your focus or make you go do something that is against you morally, but you will do it just to stay famous, type of thing. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So
That deep. Well, I mean, I would love to hear your crossroads stories. I think that, you know, we stay away from out of respect, but it is a reality and life does change at certain levels and you get to see some eccentric stuff, you know, and perhaps be put in eccentric positions.
look,
Talk
none
to
of this is a secret anymore.
right.
Especially when you listen to the podcast of my brother Professor Griff of Public Enemy, right, and others like my man Crazy Bone of Bone Thugs and Harmony, who's down right now.
Right.
His podcast is very insightful in the sense that they tell you and speak on, especially Professor Griff, the ugly side that occurs behind the curtains, you know, behind the scenes. So it's not a secret anymore. But it's out there. But you know, it's like Dave Chappelle said when he disappeared from the scene. He said that the industry is a sick place.
Mm.
So if you're thriving in it, what does that say about you?
Ooh.
That part. That always stuck to me because I've always felt that way. I just couldn't verbalize it that like he did, you
Right.
know? And I mean, it's an ugly game and it's filled with a lot of sharks in shallow waters, snakes that slither in the form of crooked managers and all kind of shady individuals of agents and all kind of people in your pockets and all that. So you have to know that coming in. This is not, you ain't going to church when you're coming into the music business. You know what I'm saying?
I never heard
You're
it
not
put
going
that
to
way,
church,
but yeah.
baby. This ain't church, nigga. It's the music business, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And the faster you learn that, the more you'll be able to navigate your way through it without getting bitten, without getting, you know, turned out,
Right.
turned inside out. You feel me?
Yes.
So, yeah.
I've heard stories. I've never questioned or conversated with someone who actually been there and watched, you know. But I always want to know what the hell happened inside of a Playboy mansion.
Well, look, I've been to the Playboy Mansion. Um, yeah, it's a fiasco. It's a
Oh,
fiasco in there. It
mm.
was a fiasco in there, I should say. Honestly, I have been asked to participate in some things that were ethically and morally against my upbringing, which is where I tapped out and I said, I ain't get in the game to do all this just to stay famous. I'd rather go away. Hopefully my core fan base follows me and I can still make a living. And looking at it now, I'm glad I did that. The money's very different. If I'd have sold the fuck out, you know, I'd be out there doing, you know, Taco Bell commercials and
Yeah.
fucking movies and, you know, and Sprite commercials and all this other stuff. But I think if you're an integrity person, and a lot of times, a lot of rappers back in the days was yelling, no sellout, no sellout, you know, yo, no sellout, and I'll never sell out. Look at them now. Some of them did.
Mm.
Some of them did. And I just remain true to myself, man. And like I say, the money is different here, but at least my conscience is free.
Right.
You know, and that's why I like to thank, you know, the nation of gods and earth so much for those lessons that they left. You know what I mean? For, you know, Clarence 13X, you know, because it helped me to navigate my way through the industry, and certain records from Gangstar and guys like Guru, rest in peace, that really helped me to navigate records like Poor Righteous Teachers and people like that. I mean, even all the way back to the world's famous Supreme Team,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
because those brothers were God body. And I think having those lessons and the things that they did sprinkle you off with started to resonate within my own DNA, and waking up a more, I can't call it religious, but more righteous person in terms of how you deal with business and the things that you will and won't do. You feel me?
Right.
Stop slamming shit.
So hip hop, you know, there's a side, a macabre side of hip hop.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it is what it is. What do you feel is the future? You know, we got Baby Bash, who's coming the new generation, you know, J Balvin. This is not hip hop, but it's Latino music that touches hip hop. And how are you feeling about the juxtaposition of the Latin rhythms and some of the boom bap stuff that's coming out?
Well, I mean, I come from an era where we couldn't sound the same.
Right.
So when I hear guys like Bash, Baby Bash, do his own thing, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
When I hear J Balvin and all those other guys twist it up their way, great, I love it. Let's not sound the same. Have your own individualism. I encourage that. You know, there's so many that do sound the same, especially when the auto-tune era came through. You couldn't distinguish one record from the other.
Real talk.
And so when I hear different variations of what I started or helped create, I love it. You know, I encourage that because we wasn't supposed to be biting each other outright. You know, what Mr. Schick did back in '81, I then in turn freaked it with two languages and bilingual, came out with that funky bilingual style. You know, and so you have to you want to make sure that you're adding on to the game, and you're bringing something that's completely different. And I encourage even reggaeton records, because reggaeton is different from what we was doing with the Latino hip hop, which was more of an East LA cultural thing. And the way we twisted it up like that, you know, reggaeton is like the cousin of Latin hip hop because it uses more of a Caribbean rhythm underneath it all, right? Or even when you hear guys, when I first heard guys like El General, you know, guys like that out of Panama, who I believe gave birth to reggaeton with his record, Do Boom Boom Mommy Mommy, back in the day, you know? That guy doesn't get enough credit, you know? So wherever he may be, more power to him. But I think it's a beautiful thing when you see these different adaptations of what it is or how it started. Like there's some cats out of Cuba known as the Orichas, right? They twisted it up differently than I did. They can't show me nothing, can't teach me nothing. Really, I did this already.
Right.
But it's great to see when there's a salsa element added there to it it's very different from the East LA cultural Malo sample, Tierra sample, Carlos Santana sample, right? And so that was very ingenious of them to do, and to incorporate those old danzón rhythms from Cuba, or even a mambo rhythm and things of that nature, and twist it up that way, you know? So I encourage it. And looking into the future, I mean, I'm no Swami or nothing, but I think, you know, if cats continue to push the envelope and think about things before they actually do them, put some time in, you know, to discover themselves and how they want to bring their art to the table, there'll be more discoveries and more new sounds. All it takes is a little time to learn yourself more, instead of just coming out and go, I want to get rich right now. You know what I mean? there's so many do that. Like they buy the computer and I just want to get rich right now. So this is I'm just gonna sound like that guy, you know, and then twist it up like that. Hopefully nobody could tell that I'm trying to sound like Nipsey Hussle. Right?
Right.
And so yeah, that's my stance on that.
Okay. When you look out, you know, over the 50 years of hip hop and your place in it, you know, starting at age 15 to really busting out with your first deal in 87, you know, with Delicious, coming into Capitol, and then having all these progeny, I'll call them. When you look back, what is the most satisfying for you about the evolution and where it's going?
But satisfying about the evolution,
especially of the acceptance for me of the Latin rhythms and Latin artists.
Again, it just goes back to kudos to those who are, you know, pushing the envelope, you know. Those that push the envelope, those are the guys that I continue to listen to. But if you sound like something that I already heard, chances are I won't listen to it. But again, now in my 50s, I'm on some other shit, man. I really don't listen to hip hop. Not like I really love Rick Ross. I like what he's doing. Travis Scott, I like what he's doing. Rest in peace, Nipsey, when he was with us, what he was doing with Victory Lap and all that, I loved it. Pushing the envelope, sounding different. But realistically, I stay on my old funk, you know, listen to my funk records when I'm gardening here at the house, when I'm in the whip, you know. I really, you know, classic shit, John Coltrane, you know, discovering, you know, real musicianship. Now that I play percussion on stage, I think that has helped me to open up more to my ears to not so much the music, but how each instrument is working within the music.
So did I see you playing congas or was it timbales?
Who was that?
You were playing an instrument. I think you were playing.
Yeah, I play. I now play.
timbales?
I now play congas and bongo. And, yeah, on stage. Okay. Thanks to my teacher, Abby Losas.
Okay. That was fun to watch you out on stage. I was watching your social media, like he's having a blast, you know.
Yeah, I am. Jerry, I mean, during COVID was a very pivotal time for me. Not only was I playing a lot of golf, but I took the time to get with a percussion teacher, and I wasn't showing nobody. I was just doing it week in, week out, week in, week out, week out. Wasn't saying nothing to nobody until one day she gives me an assignment. She said, "You need to learn this song from the Afro-Cuban All-Stars front to back. I'm gonna give you 1 week to do it." And I put in the time, I put in the work. When I came back that next week, I played it and even knew the singing parts, where to pause, where to stop, where to come back through. And that's when she had said, you know, you're ready. You're ready to play at least your own stuff on stage. So
that's exciting. First time you hit the stage in front of the crowd and brought out the instrument. How did you feel?
It felt amazing. We were in San Jose, California, early last year. That was the first time I jumped in the deep end of the swimming pool with the percussion, and man, the crowd went off and they was loving it. They're like, and they started sort of like a carnival chant as I'm playing. Oh man, it was going off, man. And I was like, yeah, I like this shit. This adds an extra layer to me as Mellow Man Ace. And it was something that was already within me, being that my family business is music.
Right.
Dating back all the way to Cuba, you know.
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
What have you eaten?
Mom, I'm in the middle of an interview.
hey, Mama Doby.
No, Mama Thomas.
Mama Tom, this is the mother-in-law, but I don't.
Okay, hi.
I don't try to. This is Mellow Man Ace.
Hello, Mellow Man Ace. How you doing?
All right. Nothing but love. Nothing but love.
Nothing but love for you, baby.
That's right.
This is a real Hype Magazine live session. It's going down. Be you know, be with Mello's folks over there slamming doors. Mom coming down here. What have you eaten today? I'm not editing this stuff out either. This is like real organic. This is funny. I know I want to respect your time. I thank you for all that you've given to music, to me as a person, as a human being. You know, obviously you were there at the beginning of my media career and my entree into the entertainment industry at large, and so many things developed from that. You know, the fact that I went back to the military, notwithstanding, you know, I'm here because of people like you who, you know, held out their hand, pulled me up, you know, stood by me, supported me, you know, saw my knees buckle, but that arm was there to lift me up. So, you know, forever love to you, big bro. And I might be older, but you're the big bro. So we're gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna win that argument because
Nothing but love, Jerry. Nothing but love, man. I'll do it again a second time if I had to.
I appreciate you. Last two questions. With all the songs and sounds, you know what I mean, that you've helped create, and of course, my nephew back there in the background getting his production on, are you still able to listen to music to vibe out? Is it still like air for you? You need it to breathe?
Absolutely. My house is a music house. I have 2 sets of percussions in the living room. I got another 3 sets of percussions in the foyer closet. Those are my stage joints. In the garage here behind me, I have a drum set along with a lot of other instruments. I got some timbales in there. Remember, my family business is music. My grandfather, dating back to him, who was the orchestra leader of the Cuban military orchestra. My uncles who are still on tour. My cousins who are still on tour in Africa. Actually, you know, my Cuban cousins that are still living in Cuba, but the only place they could really perform is other parts of the world. So my cousin Miguelito, who's in Angola performing there, and he lives there. You know, my uncle Upiano, who I'm also named after, he still plays in Havana. You know, then you got my brother Sendog. You got my other cousin who just passed away during COVID. He was a trombone player.
Mm.
His brother Ivan is a percussionist. And there's so many of us. You know, my cousin Margarita, rest in peace. She was a pianist, classical pianist. So it's the family business, and I think, you know, just it's a blessing to, number one, be in the United States as a Cuban refugee, and number two was to be able to go for mines and make it, you know, and to bring the world this bilingual music, this Spanglish style hip hop has been my complete not only honor but pleasure, because when I get it back, when I get that love back from people, it lets me know that I took the time to not sound like NWA. I took the time to not sound like Big Daddy Kane. I took the time to not sound like LL Cool J or whoever, De La Soul, right? And I think those are the creams that rise to the top. And I think being here now at 56, you know, I just give thanks to number one, the culture of hip hop, its aura. It's a very unforgiving aura, and if you get out of line of it, it'll give it to the next kid, you know. And so I'm just glad that I became a lifer for this, because I still continue to get concerts and bookings and things of that nature. I'm definitely one of the lucky ones, yo. You know, so
With a global
yeah,
audience, you're still traveling internationally, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, still get those in as well. Absolutely.
Okay. Last question, and I could keep going and going and going, but what has been, or what is your prophecy for the fabric of the hip hop culture as we hit this benchmark of 50 years?
What has been? I'm sorry. Come again.
I said, do you have a prophecy for the future and evolution of hip hop as we continue to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the culture?
You know what? From what I'm seeing, I mean, I'm no prophet or no shit like that, but you know what I am seeing though, and I'm loving, and hopefully it lands on me one day, is the resurgence at a mainstream level. When you hear or watch a football game, for instance, right? You'll hear jump around. You'll hear it takes two to make the things go right. You know, and for my brothers who produce that music, you know, I'm glad to see them eating. So I think, you know, moving forward, there'll be more of that. There'll be more of that, you know, and I just look forward to seeing the guys from my school eating and continuing to live their dreams. You know what I mean? Even though now we're elder statesmen of it all, you know, and likewise for myself, you know, I just, you know, want to stay blessed. You know, I think I'm very favored by upstairs, not only from my mother who passed on last year, but by the powers that be. You know, whatever your God is, you know, whether it's Krishna, Buddha, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? God, Jesus, whatever, Allah, you know, I stay highly favored and I stay highly blessed. Therefore, I can bless those around me still. And I think that's really why I still do this, because I know that I'm the epicenter of that, you know, and I think being able to take care of my 90-year-old father who's in here in the house now, that helps me as well to be around, you know. It gives me force. It gives me the force to be around and stay blessed. I think, you know, just taking care of things, being somebody that if we're in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs and we got the bases loaded, give me the bat because I'll make it happen. Give me the bat.
Well, let's hopefully you don't have to be called upon too many more times. You've given so much, like I said, to the people around you. And I'm going to recommend, you know, not only this interview, but Mello just did an amazing piece by the legendary Dart Adams. It is a fantastic piece on Discover Music. I really enjoyed it. Mellow Man Ace, Hype is from Cyprus. There's more to that title than you know. And
Yeah.
you need to read that story. I'm recommending it. I'm not supposed to do that, but Dart did a freaking amazing job. And I hope that I've done some justice here with this video. Thank you so much, my brother, for the time that you've given me, and much love and respect. Anytime you want to come back, I would love to have you. You got any appearances coming up, tours, shows? I know you used to do produce events as well.
Yeah, I think what I'm most excited about was during the 50th year of hip hop, I was able to present the San Gabriel Valley and especially the city of La Puente the idea of a Mellow Man Ace arts and entertainment program that we made we made it real. We were able to teach 120 kids how to rap, how to write in Spanish and English, how to combine those and you know, how to produce music through my man Bronick Wroblewski, and how to sing and play piano through my percussion teacher, Abby Losas. I was, of course, the rap instructor, and we had our first graduating class 2 months ago. So I'm really proud of that part of it, that I'm able to give back and am in a position to do so. And I think I just want to keep doing that aside from the concerts and the obvious, of course, I love to entertain and perform for people. But that has me really excited to bring it back now. We're talking to the city of Baldwin Park as well now. So, we want y'all to put out the positive energy that we land that one as well, because back in the day, we used to get record deals. Now we're getting city deals, so that has me very excited for the near future and bringing back my course to the La Puente area. So I stay active. I stay doing what I do. I try to work less and get paid more, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Right. That's
Yeah,
right.
no, because I'm planting my flowers and I want to make sure my garden right, so it's a beautiful thing, man. I'm so blessed. And I just want to say thank you to hip hop culture and the people, all the fans, guys like yourself that has given me the lane to speak and talk and get my story out, and tell my part of it. So thank you, Jerry. I salute you always for being humble, number one, charismatic, number two, and just having a beautiful energy every time that I've seen you and we've spoken or we talked in person. Thank you, bro.
Thank you for the opportunity to be in your circle. My brother, I have learned so much watching you, and you handle everything with style and grace and class. And this is an example for the young lions coming up. Like, this is power. This is confidence. This is leadership. Mellow Man Ace, El Padrino. I love you.
Peace, world.
As an artist, we should reflect the time.
Why you so talented?
Cause I'm black.
Why you so amazing?
Cause I'm black.
It's really important that we build characters so that people understand their story matters.
2 Chainz and I both are just really into good food.
And when you know you are royalty, you will only aim in life to be royalty.
We're doing it right now. I don't give a damn what they say about me. Yes, I called your ass out. I know I shouldn't be saying this kind of.
Shout out to Hype Magazine Network.
Shout out to the Hype Magazine Network.